Hi, my name is Eugenio Tacchini and I'm the founder of DaDaBIK, one of the very first low-code, no-code platforms. Some months ago, I created AppifyText.ai, a new platform that combines artificial intelligence and no-code to build applications, starting from a textual description of the app, description in English, or even in some other languages. Today, I will show you the creation from scratch of a library management application using these tools. I'll show you the whole journey. So we'll start describing the app, so basically writing a prompt in AppifyText.ai. We will refine the app, and then using DaDaBIK, we will deploy the app to a common hosting provider, linking it to a domain I registered, dada-library.com. Actually, the app is still there, so if you visit dada-library.com, you will see the result of this tutorial. The video is about 2 hours, but I take a lot of time to, introduce things, explain things. So the actual amount of time you need to do the actual work to build the app is much less. Before starting, just a quick note. A library management system is just an example of the thousands of apps you can build with AppifyText and DaDaBIK. These platforms are very good for internal tools, business apps, CRUDs, personal databases. So just use your imagination and start building apps. Okay, let's describe our application here. Name, Dada Library. We just pick up a name we like, and here we describe in plain English, but also other languages work pretty well. I want to build an application to manage a library. I need to books available, the customers, and the loans. Okay, this is our short description of the application, and I'll add some details about books. For each book, I need to represent, let's say, title, genre, author, publisher, ISBN code, well, what else? The number of copies available and the number of copies available. Okay, that's enough. Okay, what is happening right now? Basically, AppifyText is taking our text and it's using DaDaBIK, that is a no-code, low-code platform, to build this application, or at least a first draft of this application. I'm simplifying a little bit, but let's say that AppifyText.ai is working as a bridge between your textual description of the application and DaDaBIK, the platform used to actually build the application. Well, in the meantime, the application is ready, but let me add some more details. Here, I mean, the textual description is pretty free. I mean, you can describe things as you want. Also, here I specified, the information I want to track for each book, but this is not compulsory. Even if I don't add this part, I will get anyway the application. Obviously, the more details I give, the more the application will be suitable for my needs. Okay, so your app is ready to use. Start the app. Okay, this is the application, the first draft of our application. We have books, we have customers, and we have loans. As you can see, AppifyText.ai already added some data, some random data, some example of books, customers, and loans. We have all the information we asked to track for the books, and for customers we have name, address, and phone, and for loans the book, the customer, the loan date, and the return date. We can already work on this application. It's already usable, So for example, I can add a new book in my library. Let's say Divina Commedia, the Divine Comedy, genre, let's say poetry, author Dante Alighieri. Let's say the publisher is Oxford University Press, and let me add some random number here. Copies available 10. I think the year of publication is missing. I don't remember if I wrote it in the textual description or not, but we can add it manually. That's pretty easy to do it. Okay, so I can save the book. I can track a loan of this book. For example, here I can say that create new loan, Divina Commedia, customer John Smith, loan date today. Okay, loan date today, and return date is empty because we will fill it when the customer will bring back the book, obviously. Now I should update the number of copies available, 9. We will talk later about how to improve this part, how to make the update of the copies available easier. Okay, and at some point I will introduce you how to do it automatically as well. But for the moment, let's just work a little bit on this first draft of the application. So you can do the classic CRUD operations. So you can read your data. You can obviously search, for example, Divina. Okay, search. You can update the records, the information. You can obviously delete entries. Let me show that this is also a responsive application. So here I am on a desktop computer, but I'm on a laptop, but I'm on a computer, but it works well on mobile as well, as you can see. What else? You have also some other features, like you can generate charts on the fly. For example, let's say we want to see a bar chart grouped by genre on books. Okay, first I have to remove the search, otherwise the chart is made only on one book. The book I searched before, Divina Commedia. Okay, this is the complete bar chart. I can create a pivot table, I can export, I can import, I can create PDF and more. Now let's start to improve this application, because again, this was the very first draft automatically created by AppifyText.ai together with DaDaBIK, just according to our textual description. Before continuing though, the first thing I want to do is changing my root password. This is actually the very first thing you should do when you create a new AppifyText.ai application, because the root user, that is a user belonging to the admin user group, so the group that can do basically everything, including changing the application. For this user, a default password is assigned by AppifyText. You want to change that password. So the current password by default is Letizia, and I will choose a new password. Let's start to work on the application. So one thing I noticed before is that none of the fields are required, but we probably want some of the fields, or maybe all the fields, required. So we can edit the application. So when I click on edit this app, new completely different screen is displayed. That's the admin area, and that's where I work as a developer on the application. So this is what the final user will see. The final user that in our case probably is an employee of our library will see these screens without this part, by the way. Admin users, developers, can also see this part where they can work on the application, change the forms, change the permissions, and do basically most of the things. Okay, so one thing we can do is from form configurator, books, for example, and the field title. So this is a preview of our form, the same we see here. And we can, for each field, we have many parameters we can change. But for the moment, let's focus on the required parameter. So I set it to yes. So now title is required, and let's do the same for author, for example. Okay, author. So now if I reload this page, title and author are required. So if I try to create a new book without title and author, I'll get an error message. We can think if we need some validation rules. So for example, let's add something here. For example, probably copies available should be a number. Okay, so we shouldn't allow letters here, but probably AppifyText, according to our description, according to the kind of data that typically is recorded on this field, already set this as a number. But let's try. Let's add something like this. Okay, so it's already set as a numeric field, so we are good here. We can add more complex validation rules, but for the moment let's move on. So one thing I would like to do is to change this field genre. Right now it's a free text field. I prefer to have a drop-down menu with a list of predefined genres. This prevents errors and also makes easier the search process, the search by genre, obviously. So how can I do that? Again, from here, form configurator, this time is the field is genre. Here we have the field type that at the moment is text, and it's just a text box. If we want a drop-down menu where one element can be selected, the right field for us is called select single. Select single is a drop-down menu where I can only choose one element. And how can we specify the how can we set the options? We have two ways. We can set the options hard-coded, so just here as a list, hard-coded list of the options, or we can use an external data source, an external table in our database to have the list of options. We will do that later. For this particular field, we specify the genres here, the list here. How? Well, we can look at the inline help here that tells us how to do it. Basically, we have to, this is just an example with other options, but we can just set the options here separated by a tilde character. So we can say fiction, non-fiction, and poetry, for example. Obviously, we can add more options. Okay, so now, as you can see, we have a drop-down menu, save, and okay, as you can see, we have now our drop-down menu. Obviously, we should fix the existing genres here, because, for example, fantasy is not part of our current list, so either we add this to the list or we change this particular information for this book. Otherwise, if I edit the book, the genre will be empty after saving. Okay, that was one thing. Something else. I want to show you how to add new fields. For example, here, let's say AppifyText by default, we didn't specify the information we need for customers, so it decided to have name, address, and phone. We want to add email and city. So here, this is the phone configurator. We explore now another tab, the data tab. The data tab contains our data structures. If you are familiar with the relational databases, this is basically MySQL. So behind this, there is a MySQL, but you can use also other DBMS. A MySQL, in this case, database with several tables: the books table, the customers table, the loans table. You can also have views, but we will see that later. So what we want to do is to add fields to a table. So this is our data structure. We use it to store data, and on the top of our data structures there is the application. The application the final user will use to manage the information we are storing. Just to give you a more general picture of what we are doing. So books, customer, add field, let's say email, let's say that it's a short text. Short text is a field that can contain any kind of characters, maximum 255 characters. Nullable, let's say yes. So let's say we can even register customers without email. I don't know, but that's up to you. And city, again, short text. Okay, and save. Let's go back here. Let's try to add a new customer. We have the new fields here. One interesting thing, once again, the system tries as much as possible to save your time. So, for example, email, I mean, we didn't specifically say that this should contain email addresses, right? We just set a name for the field, email. But using some rules, the system assumes that this will contain email addresses, and so an email validation rule is by default applied. So if I add something like this, okay, I get an error message. Obviously, I can change this. I can add different validation rules, but by default, this is what I get. So something else I would do on loans. Well, it's interesting to see how loans works, because that's exactly what I mentioned before for when I introduced select single fields. I said we can specify the hard-coded list of options, but we can also take the options from another table, and that's called a lookup field, and that's what and that's how loans is set for book and customer. So when I add a new loan, the book is coming from the books table, the customer from the customer table. So basically, what I'm doing here and giving you some more technical details, what I'm doing here is saving the ID of the customer in my loan. The ID is a value that uniquely identifies each customer, but what I show to the final user of the application is the name of the customer and the ID. But you know, what is important to highlight is that what I see here could be different respect to what I actually store in my database. And one thing I want to change is exactly this ID label, because this is a bit confusing for the final for a final user. So this label, customer ID, book ID, was automatically chosen by AppifyText, but for the final user, I think it's easier to see book and customer. ID is kind of probably confusing. So again, form configurator and loans, book ID is just book. We change the label. Customer ID is just customer. We change the label. Okay, so this is our new form. And another little thing I want to change is how this menu works. So this is fine if you have just a few options, but think about having thousands of books. It's not very easy to work on a standard drop-down menu with thousands of items. So we can improve this by setting user-friendly searchable to yes. Sorry, I want to do it for books. For book, we can do the same for customer, but for the moment I want to show it for books. For book. User-friendly searchable, yes. So this means that instead of showing a standard drop-down menu, we have a searchable, a search as you type drop-down menu for book. So I click here, I write, for example, div, and I get Divina Commedia. Okay, this is much easier to work with. What else? Another thing I notice is that loan data, I mean, when you register a new loan, the loan data is always the current date, so today's date. So it's not very useful to have a, you know, a field where you can choose the date from a calendar. Is easier to fill this field automatically, and we can do it. So loans, again, we are in form configurator. For the table loans and for the field loan date, we select an even different field type. So far we have seen text, select single. That's another field type, is called insert date time. Insert date time, for this field, the current date or date time according to the database field we have is registered in the field when a new record, in this case a new loan, is created. So we can do an example. Sorry, I have to reload this. Book customer. Well, as you can see, we don't have the loan date anymore in the insert form, in the create form, because it's automatically set. All right, this is the record just created. Okay, now let me show you how to we mentioned lookup fields before for book and customer in loans. Let me show you how to add a lookup field. For example, let's go back to books, and let's say that right now author is just you know, free text text box field, but I want to implement author with the author field with a completely different approach. So I would like to have a separate authors table, an authors, let's say, data structure, where I store all my authors, and then from here I should be able to select an author from that list. Okay, technically what I'm doing here is I'm normalizing my database. I don't want to go into technical details about database design. Let me just tell you that this approach has several advantages, including the fact that I will have a separate data structure where I can track many information, several information about each author, and I will have a unique source for that, and this will also prevent data entry mistakes, because in my books form and in my books table, I can only pick authors from existing authors from that table, that data structure I will create. With the current approach instead, for example, maybe two different employees or even the same employee can can type the author name one time in a way, the other time in a slightly different way, maybe with a dot or an additional blank space, something like that. And this obviously makes hard to search by author. Okay, so again, I want give you a complete overview of what normalization is, but from the couple of things I mentioned, I hope it's already clear that it's better to have instead of just a free text field for author, a drop-down menu or a searchable drop-down menu linked as a lookup field, linked to an authors table where all the authors are listed. Okay, and let's do it. So first of all, we create the artist table. Create a new table with name sorry, not artists but authors. Okay, so the table has been created. By default, an ID field is added. This is the first field, and again, that's a field containing a number, an auto increment number. So the first author will get the ID 1, the second ID 2, and so on and so forth. And it's used by the system to uniquely identify each author in the authors table. Technically, this is a primary key, but that's how we call it. Okay, so ID, and then let's say name, short text, nullable, no, and I don't know, country. Okay, let's obviously we could add many more fields. Let's just start with this. Okay, authors table. Let's go here. Now we have an additional menu item here, authors, and we can add new authors with a name, a country, and an ID. This is something we should clarify. In all the other pages, ID is available here. You can see it here. But when you create a new loan, you don't have the ID of the loan. When you create a new customer, you don't have the ID of the customer. And that's correct, because again, the ID is automatically assigned. So here we have it in the create form, but we shouldn't. So in the next few minutes, I show you how to remove this from the create form. All right. Well, let me show it right now, actually. So we go to permissions, then that's the third tab we are seeing here. Permissions and authors. So we choose in the permissions tab, for each page of our application, we choose what users can do. Each application has several users, potentially belonging to several user groups. At the moment, we are working as the root user, a user belonging to the admin group. That is, as I said before, the group that can do everything, let's say. I'm simplifying a little bit, but for sure it's the group that can configure the application in the admin area. Other groups cannot. Okay, so let's set the permissions for the group admin. This is the page where you can set the permission. I know it can be a little bit confusing. It's changing. So in the next release of DaDaBIK, this is going to be different, but basically what I'm doing here, what I want to show here to you is that for each field, ID, name, and country, and for each operation, or if you want a page, you can choose if a particular group, in this case the admin group, can see that field or not. The only thing we wanted to do here is saying that the ID field shouldn't be in the create form. Right now it is it's yes. We set it to no. That's it. So now we have just name and country. All right. From the permissions tab, you can set other permissions as well for other pages / operations as well. So, for example, if you don't want the name to be editable, you set edit no or edit yes but disable. That means that when I enter in the edit form, what is the edit form? Is this one. In the edit form, a record, an author, in that case, the field is visible, but you cannot change the value, okay? But maybe we can explore the whole permissions tab later. Let's go back to authors. Here we don't have any items right now, so let's create a couple of items. So for example, Dante Alighieri, country Italy, and William and country England. All right, we have some authors now. So now we have to set this field as a lookup field. So once again, form configurator, books, field author. Right now is text, right? So I can add free author here. This shouldn't be allowed anymore. I should just take set authors coming from the authors list, the authors table. So that's a select single. Well, maybe we can introduce a different field type, the select multiple. So with the select multiple, we can add more than one authors. All right. So more than one authors. And we don't set the list of options here as we did for a genre. Instead, we set a lookup table name. So the table from which we have to choose the authors will be the authors table. What is the primary key of that authors table is ID. ID, do you remember? That's our primary key. Linked fields. What is a linked fields? So this is the field that we use. The value of this field will be used to store the data in the books table. So in the books table, we will we will store, for example, that this book has been, the author of this book is the author having ID 11. We will use the ID. However, the user will see, for example, the name of the author or any field we want to show, we want to display to the final user. So let's say we want to show the name and also the country. Okay. Maybe we can also make it user-friendly searchable. Yes. And let's save. And let's see now how the books table looks like. So now the author is not a text box anymore. We can add one or more authors from our list of available authors. So Dante, Alighieri, and William Shakespeare. All right. Okay, awesome. Let me show something more. So this was the lookup field. Let me show something more. Books. Well, one thing you can notice here is that, again, as happened before, but with lookup field is even, you can notice it even more. You should now update the authors, right? Because we had some authors in the books table, but they were just text, free text authors. Now here in the author column we have, if we think about the database, the ID of the authors available in the authors table, so we have to fix existing books. All right, so well, here for example, author, and save. All right, let me talk more about our workflow and how this can be improved. So right now, when an employee of our library needs to register a new book, well, they can do it. Books create new. The same for customer. Customers create new. When they need to register a loan, this is not very convenient because they have to register a new loan, so create new, select the book, select the customer, save, and then go back to the books table, find the related book and update the number of copies available. A little improvement could be the following. Then maybe later we will improve even more, but a little improvement could be achieved using master details views. What is a master details view? It's a different feature. I can explain you from here. So for example, here we have an edit form for a specific table, in this case the books table. This is the master, a specific book, and here we want, for example, all the loans related to that book. Okay, so we mix in the same page a master, that is typically a form like this one, and a details section that is something like this, so a results grid below the master, below the form. How can we do that? So again, in form configurator books, we pick up the ID here, we select the ID, the primary key of books, and here we add a master details view. We select the items table name, in this case is loans, and the items table foreign key field name. is book ID. Let me explain more about that. If you're familiar with relational databases, foreign key is probably a term you know. Here in this form configurator, the term foreign key is used in a not so strict, with a not so strict meaning. Here, it just means that book ID in the loans table is the field that links the loans table with the books table. So when I create a loan, I set the customer, the book, the loan date. So I have some information. In particular for the book, I have the field book ID that stores the ID of the book related to that loan. I don't know if this is clear, but probably it will be more clear after having configured and after having seen the actual resulting application. So save. So if we go back here now, let's take Divina Commedia, and here I can see all the loans related to Divina Commedia. So let's go a little bit more into technical details. Maybe it's useful to understand the process. I'm looking at a specific book, the one having ID 4, and in this master details view, I don't see just the book itself, also the loans having ID 5 and 6, having as book the book having ID 4, Divina Commedia. Okay, so now the whole process, our workflow will be easier. So if I need to register a loan for this book, I just have to create a new item here. The book is already set, so I don't have to search it, customer, and you choose a customer, and then that's it. Okay. Also, I'm here to update the copies. Okay, so everything is in the same page, so I think the workflow is improved. Let's say we have to track the fact that John Smith today, well, same day, returned the book. So I changed the return date here, and let's say this is the return date. Okay, save and go back. So now this is returned and copies are 9. All right, let me tell you one more thing about master details views. You can have more than one details under the same master if you want, and you can also use the same details in different masters. So for example, we are displaying here for each book the loans related to that book. We can do exactly the same thing for customer. So in the customers table, in the customers form, for each customer we can see the loans related to that customer. All right, so our workflow can work in two different ways. We can, when we register a new loan, we can start from the book or we can start from the customer. That's same thing. All right, so let me tell you something about users now. So far we have used just one user. Here we can see the users. There is just one user, that is the user created by default by AppifyText, is the root user. Well, the username is root, and the group main group is admin. The admin group is the group that can do everything, let's say, but in particular, they can modify the application. Okay, so they can access this part. We need to add users, let's say standard normal users without this superpower. Okay, so let's go to groups. By default, we have two groups, the admin group once again, and the default group. It's called default group, but we can change the name of this group, and by default, the group is empty. So first of all, let's think about the groups we need. So we keep the admin groups, the admin group, obviously, but I would say at least we need an employees group. In that group, we will have the users, the employees who is using our library application. Okay, and probably later we also want to add a public user, so a sort of user that can be used without logging in. So maybe we want to open our application, but only for some features, like for example just for searching books, not for adding loans or customers. Also to non-logged user, unauthenticated users. Okay, but for the moment, let's take the default group. Let's change the name. Instead of default employees. Okay, and let's add a couple of employees. So users, create new, username Bob. We can skip this part just for the test. Main group employees. Password, we have to set the password here. For this test, I will use as password Bob. Obviously, you should use a stronger password, a more complex password, and we need to go through this process. So we type the password, encrypt it, and registered. And force password change, no. Okay, just for the text. In a real system, you want to leave it to yes. So next time the user will log in, they will be forced to change their password. And save. User Bob. And another one, Alice. Main group employees, password Alice. All right, good. So now that we have two additional users, let's try to log in with Bob, for example. So I log out and Bob. Okay, the application seems the same, but first of all, if I click on edit this app, I can't. So the system asked me for username and password because I'm not an admin user. I cannot edit this app. Okay. And what else? Well, what I can do on books, customers, loan, authors depends a lot on how permissions were configured for the default group. So if I click on books, well, I can see that yes, I see all the books, but I don't have anymore the edit and delete buttons, for example. That means that the default group was configured for not having that permissions, at least for the tables created by default by AppifyText.ai. For authors, for example, things are different because it's a table we created after. However, these are all settings you can set. Maybe I will tell you later how to do it, but the important thing is that using the permissions tab, you can configure what employees can and cannot do. But to do that, we have to log out and log in again as root. And we have already opened this. And what I want to do here to make things faster for the moment is just to copy. So in permissions, instead of setting exactly the permissions for all the pages and the fields, we copy the permissions from group admin to group employees. For which table and or page, for everything. If I leave this empty, the permissions will be copied for everything. All right, so let's try again. Bob, sorry. Here we go. So we have all the permissions now, and it makes sense because employees needs to be able to, delete, edit, do everything. However, this doesn't mean the employees have the admin rights for editing the app. This is not something. This is not a permission that can be copied. So once again, if I click on edit this app, I cannot. Okay, we are just talking about the permissions related to the application itself and not the permission to modify the application. All right, so this was the first version of our application. It's currently hosted on AppifyText.ai, and well, you can actually use it because from AppifyText.ai, if I'm logged in with my user and the registration is free, I have here my app library. So the list of apps I've created. This was an old application, and this is the application we are working on. So at any time, tomorrow I will log in again. I will have my data library here. I can start the application, and I will have everything exactly as it was. However, this will be hosted for free on AppifyText.ai just for a few weeks. If you want to actually use in production your application and deploy it on your own server, even your own laptop if you want, but you can deploy it on the cloud wherever you want, you have to go on and click here for publishing and deploying this application. Okay, and this is what I'm going to show you in a minute, basically. But let me clarify something before. So this is our first version of the application. What I showed you in terms of configuration of the application here is just a very small subset of what you actually can do here. From this admin area, staying on AppifyText, you can change the theme. You can add your CSS to, change the layout. You can create templates, HTML templates for your data, for your results grid. From the form configurator, there are, as you probably saw before, many parameters you can use to customize your form. You can add separators, you can change the position of the fields, you can do many things. You can add custom pages. So right now we only have pages related to tables, but you can create custom pages writing whatever you want. You can add your HTML code there. You can create dashboards. Okay, so you can do a lot of things. If, however, as I was saying, if you want to publish and deploy the application on a different server, you have to follow this link and start the deployment. Not only the deployment allows you also to add custom PHP and JavaScript code. So there is what we call a no-code step. Everything we have seen so far is no-code. If you need more customization, if you need to, I don't know, implement a very specific validation rule, if you have to add some specific logic when something happens in the application, you can add your code in different ways. We will explore that, but for doing that, you have to deploy the application first. Let me give some background. So to deploy the application, you need to use DaDaBIK. As we said before, DaDaBIK is let's say the twin of AppifyText, because AppifyText.ai uses DaDaBIK to build the application. DaDaBIK itself can be used also as a standalone platform. So this is the DaDaBIK website if you want to check it out. But from here you can start a free trial of DaDaBIK. So again, you need DaDaBIK to deploy the application you created on AppifyText. You need a DaDaBIK license. There are several licenses available: lifetime licenses, monthly subscriptions. By default here, if you continue here, you will start a 30-day free trial for a monthly subscription. Okay, so well, yeah, if you and then you click here, you will be redirected to this form where you can complete the subscription, basically. So I don't want to bother you with these steps. So at the end of the process, you will get two things, basically: a serial number and a download link. The download link allows you to download DaDaBIK itself, this platform, and you will use the serial number you got to use DaDaBIK and to deploy the application you created on AppifyText. So what I'm doing, I'm going to do right now is, I registered already a domain called dada-library.com. It's just, the name I decided to use for this application. I will use a hosting provider, a very, common hosting provider, to host the application we have created. We will upload the application there. So our application, the one that right now is here, on AppifyText.ai, will be accessible from dadalibrary.com, the domain I registered, and starting from there, we will customize even more. We will improve even more our application. Okay? All right, let's start. Okay, right now I am in the admin panel of the hosting provider I'm going to use. They use Plesk. It's a very common tool. Maybe your provider uses cPanel, that is another common tool, or even a proprietary admin interface. Well, you can also use a secure FTP if you want. What we are going to do right now is just uploading DaDaBIK in this server. So I'm in the file manager for the domain I registered, dadalibrary.com. Okay, so I said before that after having completed the whole subscription process, you get a zip file containing DaDaBIK and a serial number, right? So the zip file is this one, DaDaBIK 11.11 Elba Enterprise Monthly. So you just unzip the file and you get a folder. Inside the folder you have two subfolders, docs containing all the documentation, some installation instructions, and this is the most important part. Program files contain the actual code of DaDaBIK, the one we have to upload here. Okay, so we could just take select everything here and drag everything here. It will work on Plesk. However, it's faster to zip these files and upload the zip, and also on some other interfaces like in cPanel I think you cannot just drag all files and folders like that, so you have to zip them. So what I'm going to do right now is I will create a zip compress file. Okay, I get this, and I will upload this here. Okay, one thing, I'm uploading the zip file directly into the HTTP docs folder. Everything you have in this folder is directly accessible by a browser, basically typing dadalibrary.com / in this case archivio.zip. I will access this zip file. This is not good for security reason. I'm just doing that to make things faster. What you should do is instead you should upload in your home directory, so outside the web root, the file, so the file is safe, and then unzip the file inside this folder, or unzip outside and move then the files here. So finally, in the HTTP docs folder, you need all the files you had in the program files folder you had here. Okay, so I'm going to extract files here. Okay, so now in the HTTP docs folder we have all the files. We remove, remember this step is very important, we remove the zip file. All right, one additional thing, so we again just uploaded the files to our server using Plesk. As I said, you could use several other methods according to what your hosting provider offers. If you are familiar with Git, you can also use Git push to push your files there, but that's a little bit more complicated, so maybe we will explore that in another episode. This is the easiest way, at least if you are not familiar with more complex systems. So and it works well. I mean, it just works. Now we have for the moment we have just moved some files. Now we have to install DaDaBIK. DaDaBIK is not installed yet. We have to call the install file to actually install DaDaBIK. To do that, before doing that, we have to set a few parameters that will be used by DaDaBIK to during the installation. You will find everything in the documentation. I will tell you exactly what to do here. As you can imagine, we need a database. I've already created here in Plesk a MySQL database having as name Dada Library and as MySQL user Dada Library with a password. So what I'm going to do in our DaDaBIK configuration file is at least telling DaDaBIK the connection parameters for the MySQL database. Okay? This is what I'm going to do right now. So the file where I should set my connection, DB connection parameters is a file in the include folder, and it's called config custom.php. Okay, config custom.php. This one. So right now it is empty. There is just an example here. In this file, I can specify a huge number of parameters for my application, but there is a minimum set of parameters I need to write here. And the easiest way to see this set, to start a new config custom file, is to look at the DaDaBIK documentation. So docs manual, and there is a specific chapter where you can grab just an example of config custom file, a minimum example of working config custom file. Here. And here we go. This one. Copy. And paste here. These values obviously needs to be edited, because you have to use your real serial number here, and here you put the DBMS type that in our case is MySQL, and then the host, DB name, user, like the database user, and the database password. Then you also need to add a secret key and the DaDaBIK session name. These are, let's say, security related parameters. For each application you create, you should use a different secret key and DaDaBIK session name, and also these two values must be also different. Just pick up a complex string for secret key and a different complex string for DaDaBIK session name. If you need more information, you probably want to look at the documentation in the config.php file. the config.php file contains all the possible parameters you can use in config custom.php, and for each parameter you have the some instructions, so you can read the details about these two parameters there, and then the time zone. So now I'm going to use my own parameters, and obviously these ones are the ones that either the provider provided me or I chose when I created the database on Plesk. Okay, I've set all the values. Now I can save the file. One thing I can do is also, this file index.html was created by default when I created the domain here, but it's not part of DaDaBIK, so we can remove it. So now we have to install DaDaBIK, and to do it, dadalibrary.com/install.php. This is the installation screen. Next, requirement check. We have PHP 8.2. We have all the extensions needed. The database connection was okay. You can check the additional requirements when you install DaDaBIK. We can just in this demo we can just go on next. All right, so we have to create a new blank application. This is not the standard application, the standard installation. We have to create a blank application, because in this blank application, then we will import the application we created with AppifyText.ai. So blank. All right, so now we need to set an installation password. I've selected my installation password that will also be used by the root user in a normal installation. However, since we are then importing our AppifyText application, then this will be overwritten. So basically you will find in your final application exactly the users you have on AppifyText with their passwords. Everything seems fine. If you want, we can see the application created, but there's not much to see because it's a blank application. So root, and this is the password I've just set before. And as you can see, it's just a blank application. So how can we now import the application from AppifyText? It's very easy. We have to export from AppifyText. We will get a zip file containing some SQL instructions that we have to run in the database we have created here for this application. So how to export? How can we export our application? You have to go to this URL, AppifyText.ai/myapps. obviously you need to be logged in. It's not this link, my apps. This link is just, a shortcut to the app library where you can start, delete, or give feedback for each app. I'm telling you because the URLs are similar, so it can be confusing, and I know that for some users was confusing, so that's why I'm pointing this out. So it's AppifyText.ai /my apps, one word. Okay, here you can export your applications, and what we want to export is data library. We click on download. All right, we have downloaded the file. It's an SQL dot a compressed SQL file, so SQL.gz. So I have downloaded the file. Now I'm back to Plesk, and because I want to open the database data library with phpMyAdmin, because we are going to import that SQL file into the database. I'm using phpMyAdmin because it's probably the easiest option for everybody. It's something you typically have already installed by your hosting provider, but you can use any MySQL administration tool, and you can also use the MySQL console if you're familiar with that. That's up to you. Okay, so I will open phpMyAdmin. Okay, I'm in the data library database. As you can see, there are already several tables here. They are tables created by DaDaBIK when we installed DaDaBIK before. But what we want to do is to import, and I think we can just grab from here. This is the list of downloaded files. I think I can just grab it here. Let me check. Yes. All right. Let me see if everything... Yes, it seems that everything has been imported. In fact, as you can see, we have now the autos table, the books table, the customers table, the loans table, and all these DaDaBIK tables have been overwritten with our configuration, the one we did in AppifyText. So here there is, the core of our application. So the whole application has been imported here. So now, if I reload this, remember this was the blank application, right? So it was empty. Now, if I reload the page, I get the application we had on AppifyText, right? So look at the URL. We are on dadalibrary.com, but we have the application we created on AppifyText. Okay, and again, the users are the ones we set there. So if we check admin, users Ruth, Bob, and Alice. Okay. Now let me do a couple of things about the layout. I want to change the graphic theme, and I want to change the logo. I created a logo. Actually, I just took a logo on Canva, library logo that was on Canva, and I just modified the text. So it was a 30 seconds probably work just for this demo. Let me show how to set the new theme and the new logo. So edit, form configurator, no sorry, layout. So first thing, instead of blue gray, I want to set the theme to the black one. Then I want to first upload the logo I created into the images folder, So I'm back to Plesk now, images, and then I click here, upload file. Okay, this is the logo. This is my logo. So I upload it. Good. And now from here, instead of the default logo, we set our. Okay, save. All right, so new theme, new logo. Now, let me show you how uploading work in a DaDaBIK application. To do that, we can add a new field. Let's say that we want for each book optionally a cover field where we can upload a picture of the cover. So edit, data, books, we add a field. Oh, okay. We cannot add a field from here because for security reasons, this operation by default is not allowed. If you want to enable it, you have to set enable data tab operations to 1 in your config custom file. So we can just do it. So and include config custom enable data tab operation equal to 1. Enabling this has some security implications, so I suggest you to read the documentation about this parameter in the config.php file. Okay, so now let's go back here, and now we should be able to do it. Yes, so picture book. It's a short text field type, and let's say that yes is nullable. Why it's a short text? Well, why in general is a text? Because here we are going to upload a file, so you may think that text is not the right field type. However, when you upload a file in a DaDaBIK application, in the database, only the file name is recorded. The actual file is stored in the file system. So short text is fine, unless you don't want very long file names. You don't need very long file names. In that case, you should set this as long text, but this is not very common. And in form configurator, books, picture book, maybe the label should be just picture, and the field type is Image file. Image file allows to upload a file and to treat the file as a picture. So that means that the browser will display the picture in the results grid and in the details page. So save and exit admin. Divina Commedia. Oh, sorry, I missed something. We added a new field, but we didn't assign permissions to that field. Okay, so picture book, let's say books. For the admin group, picture book field, we can say that in the results grid we want the field. In the edit form we want the field. In the create form we want the field. And also here we don't want the field in the search, quick search and advanced search forms. It's not very common to search by file name, and also the file name is assigned by DaDaBIK, so it's not useful at all. Also, probably it's not very useful to export the file name on CSV when the user export the data in CSV, so no. I'm working on a permission for admin. We should have probably the same permissions for employees, but maybe you can work on admin and then at some point copy again the permissions from admin to employees, or you can do it manually, or whatever is more convenient for you. So exit admin, Divina Commedia. Okay, once again, we cannot upload files because by default uploads were disabled. So same thing we did before. Enable uploads equal to 1 and save. All right, now we have the picture. So we want to upload a picture for Divina Commedia. I already have a, just for this demo, a picture. Okay, select file, divinacommedia.jpg, file uploaded, and save. Okay, so we have the file here, we can see the file here, the cover here, we can see it here, and we can see it here. That's good. Let's move on. The next thing I want to show you is the use of public users. So right now, our application on, if anyone visit DaDaLibrary.com, they got just, this login page. So if they don't have an account, they cannot access the library. And this could be fine if the application is just for the employees, but maybe you want to show some part of the application also to public non-logged in users, non-authenticated users. All right, only some part and only some operations. So maybe you want to show the list of the books also to public users. They cannot edit, they cannot create, they cannot delete, but they can browse and search books. I think this is fine, right? So how to do that? Let's go back in the application. Admin groups. we want to create a new group. We call it public. Okay, public group. And to this group, we will add a user. So create new user. We can call it public again. Main group is public. And password, we can choose a password here, but finally it will not be used. Okay, so for each user you create, for security reasons, DaDaBIK asks you to assign a password, but if this then will be assigned as a public user, that user won't need a password. Okay, so well, I will use password here. Okay, force password change. No. Let me tell you something that maybe could be confusing. I've used as username public, but don't think that just using the word public here or public in the group name makes the user public. To make a user public, we have to do something, and I'm gonna do it in a second. This is just a random name you can pick up. Okay, so for example, I can call it Anna. That's totally fine, and let's keep Anna to avoid any confusion. And save. Now we have to assign permissions. So permissions. A couple of things I want to tell you here. One thing I forgot to tell you before. So before, when we it's about permissions. That's why it came to my mind right now. When we created the picture field, if you remember, we had to assign permissions for that field. This is how things work according to our configuration, but you can configure DaDaBIK also in other ways. Like, for example, you can tell DaDaBIK that every time you add a new field, permissions are automatically assigned, okay, to save time. All right, that's one thing I want to tell you. The second thing I wanted to tell you, now that I think it's not that important, I prefer to move on. So we are defining the permissions for the public group, right? For which table? The table books. For the other tables, the permission are no, no, no. Well, for all the tables right now, the permission are no, 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 and so on and so forth. But only for books, we want to enable a couple of permissions. So here we have table level permissions. So at the table level, can the users belonging to the public group read the data inside the books table? Yes. We want them to be able to delete books? No. Edit? No. Create? No. Export to CSV? No, probably not. Details? Yes. So with details, we mean the details page you can access by clicking on the information icon close to the record. Okay, so save. Table level, field level. Here we set on a more granular level, field level, the permission for each field. So basically, let's say we want all in the results grid. The results grid is the page showing all the records. ID, title, genre, author, publisher, ISBN, well, let's say everything. And edit no, create no, details no, but they are already no here, so this doesn't have any impact. Quick search, maybe we can add to the quick search the title, let's say, and the genre. And we can add everything to the advanced search except from the picture. And that's it, basically. Oh, no, also details, yes for all. Yes for all. Okay, this is the permissions for the public user on the books table. We have to add the permissions also for the home page. Let me show what is the home page. The home page is this one. That at the moment is something created by AppifyText. Not very useful for our final users, but at some point we will change it. So we can already give the permissions to the public user. Even if they will see these, that is not very good now that I think about it. So maybe first we change the home page. So I can show you also that part, pages, custom pages, home is an HTML page, and this is the content of the page. Well, for the moment, we can just write welcome. That's it. Let me check. Okay, welcome. So let me go back here in our config custom file, because once again here we set something, username public user equal to Anna. So this tells DaDaBIK that the user Anna is a public user. Okay, so let's log out here. Okay, so this is the login page. I'm not logged in right now, so if I remove this part and I just call dadalibrary.com, okay, what is happening here is that by default DaDaBIK wants to show me the home page. Before we forgot actually to give the permissions to Anna for the home page. So let me fix this. So I log in again as root, and then permissions. Here we have tables, but we have also custom pages. Custom pages, like the home page, are pages that you can create in HTML, JavaScript, PHP, just custom. You can add your own content. They are not linked to a table or a view. So custom page, home, public group, the permission was no, should be yes. All right, so log out. Let's try again. Okay, so now we are in. We are not logged in, but we can see the books, only see them, including the detail. We cannot edit, delete, create. We cannot see the other tables, but at least we can browse the catalog. Okay, what else? I want to add a little dashboard to the application. a page where the employees can see some useful information about how the library is going. I was thinking at least to a chart showing how many loans we had for each month. That could be an example. So, yep, let me log in again as root. Let me see if we have some data actually. Not much, but just for this example is fine. I mean, at least you should see something. So generate chart, simple report. We can also create an advanced report in SQL. Well, right now it's disabled. Once again, you have to enable in config custom.php. But for the kind of report I want to do is find a simple report. So it's a no-code approach. That means we just have to set things here, parameters here. So we want a bar chart. That's the size. We want to aggregate data by let's say loan date, and in particular month. And for each month, we want to see the number. So count the number of loans we had. Generate chart. So we have one in January 2020, one in February 2020, one in March, and 3 in October 2023. Okay, this is our chart. Is based on the current data, obviously. So, well, I mean, you can always recreate, following these steps, the chart, but what we want to do is to embed this chart into a dashboard, into a page. So we click here, show embed code, and this is the code we have to copy and paste in a page to show this chart. All right, so now edit pages. It's not a page based on table, it's a custom page. We add a new page. By default, the page name is untitled. We call it dashboard. We enable the page. The page type is HTML. We have other page types. We are not discussing them right now. We can show the HTML content of the page. This is, a tool you can use to actually add content to the page. By default, any new custom page has as content this draft content, but you can write whatever you want. You have some tools here to format the content. So I would say we add our title here, and let's say it's a title, heading 1. Okay, heading 1. And now we have to paste the code I copied before. Since it's HTML code, we cannot paste it here, directly here. This is, a visual representation of the HTML code of this page. We have to go to the source code, tools, source code. This is the very simple HTML code of this page. I'll add the code I copied before and save. All right, this is our chart. Okay, so save. Don't forget to add the permissions, because we have created a new page. Permissions, custom page, dashboard, admin, view, yes. dashboard, and here we go. Obviously, we can add some description for this chart, and I mean, in a dashboard or in general in a HTML page, you can add many things, we can embed many different charts. You can embed results grid, you can embed views. We haven't seen views yet, but a view is just you know, let's say, I'm simplifying a little bit, but like a filtered version of a table. So maybe here we want to see the list of the open loans, so the ones that haven't been returned yet. We can do it very easily, you know, copying and pasting the embed code for a view. All right, and also remember that is let's say a live chart. It's not just a picture. So if and well, we can try. So right now we have three loans in October. Today is already November because I recorded this video in 2 days. So loans, I create a new one, book, once again Divina Commedia, let's say, and all right, customer and dashboard. All right, so as you can see, it's not just a static picture, it's a live chart that takes data. Every time you load the page, it takes data from you know, the actual data you have in the DB. Okay, so I think it's enough for the first episode of this tutorial about building a library management system. I share you a lot of no-code things you can do in DaDaBIK. Well, first in AppifyText and also then in DaDaBIK to set up, to configure your application. The very last thing I want to show you is some low code. So DaDaBIK application, as you have seen, can be created no code. So we haven't actually written any PHP or JavaScript code to build this application. We just configured things. We started with a prompt asking AppifyText.ai to convert our text into an application, and then we configured things to customize the application itself. At some point, however, for more complex things, you might need to add your code. How can you add code, custom code in a DaDaBIK application? There are many ways. I mentioned these ways. I hope I won't forget some of them. For example, you can add buttons. So, for example, here we could add a button here that executes some custom code. For example, in your custom code, you could write something like, let's say we want a return button that allows us to set the loan as returned without you know, changing the return date manually. We can do that. Custom button, write you know, a few lines of code, and when you click on the button, the current date is set in return date, so the loan is considered returned. Okay, so custom buttons. You can add custom buttons in many places in your application. Calculated fields. You can make a field calculated. That means that its value is not inserted manually by the user. It is calculated according to your code, maybe according to some other fields, or according to an algorithm that you decide. Calculated fields. Custom formatting functions. You can decide to apply a custom formatting to your data, and you can do it using your own code. Custom validation functions. You can add custom validation rules, and again, write the rules using your own code. What else? Conditional fields. You can decide that a field appear or not appear in a form according to a condition, and you can set the condition using your code. Maybe you want to show a field only if another field is set to a particular value. What else? Hooks. What is a hook? A hook is basically some code you want to be, some custom code you wrote, you want to be executed when some particular operation is executed. Let me give you an example. For example, when you create a new loan, you want the system to send an email to the customer containing some information about the loan. You can do it. You can do that using an after insert hook, for example. Okay, so these are all examples of low code, and I will show you a little. That's the only, the only coding activity we will do in this first episode. But just to show you how these things work, I'm going to add a custom formatting function. The idea is very simple. If the copies available for a book are less than, I don't know, let's say 2, then write this value in red. Okay, that's a very little thing, but it allows me to show you how low coding works in DaDaBIK. Okay, let's write our custom formatting function. Okay, so custom format, well, each category of custom code, like calculated custom functions, validation functions, custom formatting functions, each category has its own file, okay, where you write your code. So here in include custom functions, we have custom formatting functions.php. Here we add our code. In this case, again, a custom formatting function. So let's write it. Function. Let's pick up a name for this function. The name should start with DaDaBIK underscore, and then the rest of the name is up to you. Let's say DaDaBIK format copies. Okay, remember this function, the goal of this function is to display in red the number of copies of a book if the number of copies is less than, let's say, I don't remember, we said 2, right? Yes. Okay, so a custom formatting function has, this is pure PHP. So if you're familiar with PHP, this is gonna be very, very easy for you. If you're not, still follow me because it's very, very easy to understand. So this function receives in input 2 parameters, value and $value $ID. What does it mean? Well, $value is the actual value we need to format. So let me explain a little bit here. So this value, well, we are writing the code of the function, and then after that we will link that function to this field, copies available. So DaDaBIK knows that every time it has to display this value, the value should first be formatted using our code here. Okay, so 5, the code is applied, and if less than 2, it will be read. 10 again, 8 again, and so on and so forth. So this is the value that is the first parameter of the function. ID instead is the value that uniquely identify the record. Okay, in this case is 1, in this case is 2, then 3, but let's forget for a moment this second parameter because we don't need it for this particular function. Okay, so you can also forget it. And now let's write the code here. So if $value is less than 2, then return span. Let me write the whole code, and then I'll span style color column red. Okay, else return value. Okay, so here we are checking with an if statement if the value is less than 2. If it's not, we return the value itself, so nothing changes. Okay, so DaDaBIK will use the default color. Return is what does it mean? Basically, each function can return a value. For custom formatting function, we are returning the value after having applied our formatting rule. So if value is not less than 2, we just return the value itself. No formatting rule is applied. If it is less than 2, we put value between, inside a span tag, an HTML span tag having this attribute style that sets color to red. Okay, this is just standard HTML, color red. One thing we should do every time we format by ourselves value is to add both here and here this particular command, HTML special chars. This is used to convert special characters into the corresponding HTML entity, let's say. But I don't want to go too deep into this topic because for this particular case, since the database field, if we look at our database field here for copies, data copies is a number, an integer number, that means that we cannot have actually characters that needs to be encoded in some way. We just have numbers. So just, forget about this again, because the goal of this little function is formatting function is just to show you how your own code can be integrated in DaDaBIK. Okay, so that's it. So the function is super easy. Parentheses here not needed. Okay, now from form configurator, books, copies available. Now we have to tell DaDaBIK to use that function, right? Because right now we have just written the code, but it's just a function in our custom formatting functions file, but we have to tell DaDaBIK to use this function as a custom formatting function for the field copies available. Custom formatting function DaDaBIK format copies, and save. All right, let's reload here. Everything is in black because no books. We don't have any book with number of copies less than 2. Let's well, we can do it also from here. 2, and let's reload. It is not working. Let me check why. Oh, sorry, we said less than 2, not less or equal to 2. So 2 is in black, but 1 is now red. Okay, so this was an example of low coding, what we call low coding. So we add some code to our no-code application. Obviously, everything is documented in the manual. So if you go to the DaDaBIK manual, you have a chapter dedicated to custom formatting functions, for example, as well as about calculated fields and all the other low-code aspects. Okay? All right. The application is ready, at least in its first version. We will improve it in some other episodes of this tutorial. The application is ready, deployed, and available at dada-library.com, so you can actually see and use the application. You can access the list of books without logging in, or if you want, you can log in as an employee and change some data. Probably I will add a script that periodically, like every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, restore the original database. Okay, you cannot enter as admin, so you cannot change the application though. All right, and what else? Well, let me tell you some more general features of this application that are not strictly related to a library management system, but they are related to any applications created with DaDaBIK. First of all, you don't have any limit in terms of number of users, number of tables, number of records. Even if you have a huge number of records, like maybe you have hundreds of thousands of loans, 1 million loans, it will work. Okay, probably you have noticed that we have a multi-language application here. Not only the interface of the application changes, as you can see here, if you want, you can also provide translation for your label, for your labels here. Okay, and that's another thing I want to mention. What about integration with the rest of your information system? Maybe you have other softwares, you want to integrate other applications, you want to integrate with this one. You have many options depending on the DaDaBIK edition you use. Let me mention some of them. You have LDAP authentication, you have a WordPress plugin to embed your app into a WordPress page if you want. You have HTTP API, another option you have to integrate with other your app with other applications. What else? Okay, let me also tell you something that is not obvious about how the data is stored. So, as you know, behind this application there is a database. In our case, it's a MySQL database. You can use also Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, or SQLite. And well, here, we have the tables, authors, books, customers, loans. But let's open the DB with phpMyAdmin. So as you can see, it's a standard database. This is your data, the same you see in the application. Data is stored in a standard relational database. I can export my data. There is no data vendor lock-in here. Okay. Well, anyway, there are other features, but I don't want to spend too much telling you, the list of the features, because you can find the list visiting DaDaBIK.com. In the pricing page, you will find a long list of features according to the edition you choose. Let me tell you something about the relationship between AppifyText.ai and DaDaBIK. Maybe you are wondering if you can do the whole application starting with DaDaBIK, so without going through AppifyText.ai as we did in this tutorial. Yes, you can. You can install DaDaBIK as a blank application, as we did, and create by yourself the in the data tab the tables, books, authors, customers, loans, with the fields, and configure them, and so on and so forth. You can do it manually. That's totally fine. I think that if you are not very familiar with relational databases, going through AppifyText.ai could be a good kickstart, for your application, and then you can refine it. And I think that even if you are familiar, in some for some particular applications, you can save time if you go through AppifyText.ai, because at least if you have a lot of tables, a lot of data structures you need for your application, that skeleton of the application, that draft of the application, is created by AppifyText.ai in a few seconds, basically. And then obviously you can go into the data tab, add fields, change fields, do whatever you need to do. So just to summarize, AppifyText.ai is free to use, registration is free, you can create and customize and use your applications. They will be hosted for free for a few weeks. If you want to deploy the application you created to your server, to a cloud, to your laptop, wherever you want and customize the application even more, for example, adding your own custom code, you have to get a DaDaBIK license. You have various options, lifetime and monthly subscriptions. If you choose monthly subscription, at the moment the first month is free, and then it's 15 euros or 15 US dollars per month. You can start your trial from here, dadabik.com/trial. What about the next episodes of this tutorial? So the idea is to extend this application in other episodes of this tutorial. I already have some idea about what to implement, and let me check my notes here. Obviously, if you have suggestions on things we should implement in our library management system, just let me know. Just add a comment on the video here on YouTube. So the very first thing I want to do is probably the automatic update of the number of copies. So when you register a loan or a loan is returned, the number of copies available should be automatically updated. That's one. Registration form. I would like to have, right now we have an employees group and a public group. Probably it's useful to have a customers group where we register customers as users so they can log in the application and see their own loans. Obviously, only their own loans, not all the loans registered in the system. So that can be implemented using so-called row-level custom filter. And then I would like to send an email to the customer when a loan is created. What else? A button for closing the loan. So instead of manually adding the return date, a button here saying, okay, the book has been returned. Maybe we can do some, we can create some PDF files. For example, if we need some paper that, I don't know, need to be signed by the customer when they're registered, something like that, we can explore that using PDF templates. Another thing I noted was reviews. So the idea is to give customers the option to review with stars the books, calculate the due date, automatically calculate the due date, set some constraints, business rules. For example, we can say that the customer cannot have more than, let's say, I don't know, 5 open loans. Right now we don't have constraints. We can add them. Yeah, the very last thing I was thinking, and is again about row-level custom filter, is, but I mean, I don't know if you are interested in that. The idea is to create a sort of multi-tenant architecture. So a set of libraries instead of only one will share the same application, but each employee will see only the portion of data in terms of books and loans belonging to their library. Okay, that's an interesting use of row level custom filter. So that's it for today. This video is already very long. Yeah, I like to talk, so my videos are always longer than expected. But yeah, that's it. So see you next time. Ciao!